Hello and welcome to another JB Disc Golf Productions of the 2018 Sherwood Island Open in Westport, Connecticut. This was a tournament that Craig Smolin, ran on Saturday, May 12th. It was a pretty rainy and nasty day, and we've got Bobby Cowperthwait, Andrew Garrett, Jeff Cahill, and Brandon B. Shaw. So this is the round two of a two-round event. And first hole is par 3, 331 feet, slight left to right, pretty wide open. We've got Bobby teeing off. Wind was pushing right to left, and you're going to see Bob go around the outside of that large tree right to left. Looks like he's throwing a destroyer pretty high and wide. Here we've got Brandon. He's throwing a Discraft. Looks like a force. He's also going around the outside. This is Andrew Garrett. He drove up from Tennessee to hang out with one of his friends. He's taking the direct line, turns it over a little early. He's going to be outside about 60, 70 feet. And last we've got Jeff Cahill, old school player out of Norwalk, Connecticut. Jeff's taking the direct line also, a little left to right turnover, trying to have it flex right down at the basket, and he's parked inside the circle. Here's Andrew putting. A little over the top. He's still about 12 feet away. Bobby looks like he went a little long, just outside the circle. Stepping up, and it's underneath. That's going to be a par. Brandon about 40, and sails it a little long. And now Brandon makes the putt. Nice par. Sherwood Island is a fairly wide open course right on Long Island Sound. Can be pretty windy, and the weather this day, though, was rainy. It was in the 40s, low 50s, but the wind really wasn't kicking that bad. You see Jeff tap in there for birdie. Bobby tapping in for par. No real damage on this hole. Pretty straightforward. So you could see that Bobby tore it up the first round. He had a 13 under. Par's 59. Hole 2, par 4, 523 feet. Bit of a tweener. You don't really want to take a 5. You're not really going to get a 2. Just want to bomb it out there, out on the right side, and have it come back on the left. Leave yourself an easy approach with either a Firebird or a Gator. Here's Bob. Likely throwing a destroyer. Gets a little tipped, but it should be coming back into the middle of the fairway. There it is. Here's Brandon. A little bit straighter. Gets a good flight on it. No tee pads here at Sherwood yet, so we still have natural tee boxes, and they can be a little dicey on days like this. Here's Andrew with his approach shot. And he's flirting with the right side. And pops it up a little bit. And he's going to have a slightly testy putt. Here's Jeff. He saws that off. He's going to be about 30. And Brandon He throws almost all discraft. Nice little pitch up. Little bit shorter than I think he wanted. And here's Bob. He's sponsored by Innova, so this is a gator. Nice little chip shot. Should be putting. And Jeff is a very good putter, and he nails it. Sherwood's got Mach X baskets, and they catch really well if you put them on the chains. They tend to catch most of the stuff on the sides, but they will spit out occasionally. A nice little birdie 3 from Brandon. Bob tapping in. Not really a difficult hole for guys in the MPO field. And if you're taking a par here, you're kind of losing a stroke to the field. So everybody off to a decent start so far. Hole 3, it's another par 4, but this one goes uphill, even though it's slightly shorter, and it's definitely legit. And you'll see the shot. You got to punch out through this tunnel. Bob going with a roller with the flippy boss. And anything out to that left side is really wide open. Jeff taking more of a hyzer, trying to punch through those trees, but he's past them, and that's wide open also. Here's Brandon. Little low, but he gets around that last tree also, and he's wide open. And Andrew, a little higher, a little short of that first tree, but he skips out through the open as well. So the approach shot's uphill. Footing can be dicey. It's kind of lumpy grass, a little soft. And the tendency is to short it, even though there's a lot of room behind the basket. It just plays a little bit further than you think it does. Here's Brandon. Playing a little flex. And that's pretty close. That's a good approach shot. And Bobby with a glow flat top Firebird from an old Sherwood Island event. And those in Connecticut and New York know that that disc has a lot of stability on it. Jeff kind of saws that approach off again, but you'll see he's got a good putt. Floats it and it catches. That's a great birdie. Andrew taps in. And Brandon taps in also for birdie. And Bob's parked. So we've got a nice little star frame here on hole 3. And that's a legit par 4. Plays really fair. All these guys are off to a good start here. Jeff at 3 under. And the rest at 2 under. Bob still with a 4-stroke lead over Brandon and 5 over Andrew. Hole 4, par 3, 318, plays dead straight. Road on the left is out of bounds. And the safe play is to flirt with the big tree on the right-hand side and have it hyzer back in if you're a right-hand backhand player. Those logs that you see are about circle's edge, so Jeff is going to be outside. Andrews pulls it to the right, but it slices back, and he's over the logs, and he's definitely got a putt for 2. Bob looks like he's throwing a mid-range, pumps it straight. Hooking up, it's probably a Champ Rock X3. He's going to have a tester of a putter about 30 feet. Brandon also going with the right hand, backhand. And that is also over the logs, and he's on the green. None of these guys tend to throw a lot of forehand shots, which will play away from the road. And Jeff with a fantastic putt there for 2. Andrew with a pretty similar putt. And he nails his also. Couple pumps from Bob. And here comes the putt. And he bangs it in also. First round was pretty rainy that day, and the second round it tended to clear up a little bit. The conditions were pretty good. And unfortunately, you see the tendency with the Mach X, if you're low on the left or right side, it doesn't tend to stick and it'll slide off. Brandon takes it an unfortunate par. We got 3 2s, 1 3. Now we're coming up to hole 5. This is one of the trickiest holes on the course. The road plays out of bounds, and the little gravel lot that you see up by the next tee, that's also out of bounds. And you've got to cross in on the left-hand side in order to be in bounds. And if you're not, you're re-teeing. The aggressive play is what Jeff's doing, and he's throwing a hyzer and trying to smash onto the green. It looks like, oh, he gets a kick out, but it rolls back in, and he's safe and putting. And here's Bob. Looks like he's throwing a similar line. Pretty hard. He gets a good little kiss onto the green. Those rocks are only about 20-25 feet. Andrew throws lower, trying to get a skip off the pavement. He puts it on those chips, and that's within the circle easily. Brandon saws his off, doesn't play as wide. And he's in bounds, but that's not where you want to be. Here's Andrew. And that's a great putt from the rough. That putt's about 28-30 feet. Here's Bob wide open. A little short. The basket's a little lower than you think on this green. Jeff nails his. Here's Brandon's par save. He puts it in. So you'll see that the stretch of holes 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all very gettable par 3s, and you want to come away with at least 2 out of the 3, 2 out of the 4, if not all 4. So hole 6, another par 3, 276, slightly uphill with a very low ceiling. And for these guys, probably try to punch a mid-range. For a little bit slower of an arm, you're looking at a fairway driver, something stable so it doesn't drift to the right down the hill. You can see Jeff trying to keep it on hyzer. He gets a nice little forward skip, but he's just at circle's edge. Here's Andrew. And he pulls it to the right. That is not where you want to be. Looking uphill, but he's got those branches to contend with. Bobby throwing the Rock X3 again. Keeps it flat. That disc has a lot of stability and it'll work back. And he is parked within 8 feet. Here's Bishaw. Very similar shot. That one drifts a little bit to the right on him, He's going to be at circle's edge. Andrew gets caught up with those low-hanging branches. And he's still going to have a difficult putt for par. Jeff nails his birdie putt. He's off to a really good start with the birdie, with the putter. Andrew, he does make his par putt. That's a good save. And Brandon's below the basket, putting uphill. Not much in his way, and he makes the birdie. That's a good MPO caliber birdie putt there. There's Bobby walking up and tapping in. So Jeff off to a real hot start. 6 under through 6 holes is fantastic. He's tied it up with Andrew and Brandon. They're all 12 under, still 5 strokes behind Bobby, who, as I said, tore it up the first round. Hole 7, par 3, plays downhill through 2 guardian trees. The road into the left is out of bounds. A couple plays here to slide right through them the way Jeff is doing it. You could play out to the left, left to right, with an anhyzer or a forehand. I've even seen some backhand rollers. Bobby's going right up the middle with that Rock X3. And he's on the green. That's 20 feet. Brandon pulls his just a little bit into that guardian. No 2-meter rule ever in effect in Connecticut. So that one drops down safely. No penalty regardless. Here's Andrew, similar line. Nobody really wanting to flirt with the road here. They've all got good rounds going. That's a little bit longer than I think he'd want. That's a rare forehand from Jeff. Brandon with his backhand approach. Slides it a little past the basket, but he's putting well this round. He should make that. Andrew keeps it going. Another big time putt there. Brandon converts. Mock X's are really great baskets to putt on. A lot of chains and they catch well. And Jeff just shorts it. That's not a good putt. Bobby makes his birdie. Keeps his start going. Jeff looking a little dejected. Losing 1 stroke to Andrew, or 1 stroke to Brandon, 2 to Andrew. Bobby maintaining his 5-stroke lead over Andrew. Now 6 over Brandon. Hole 8 is one of the longest par 3s, 424 feet. Relatively flat. A couple weeks before this event, a large tree fell down, and you can see that the parks didn't really have a chance to clean it up. So it was playing like a natural bunker and forcing good shots to end up on the left-hand side. Otherwise, you were contending with a difficult approach. Andrew throws his shot low. As you saw, Bobby's basically parked. Brandon gets his up in the air, working left. That's a good spot to be. Circle 2. Jeff pumping out of flip up, but it stays hyzer. Stays inbounds. That road that you see plays out of bounds. This is about an 80-foot putt here. Good effort there from Jeff. Since this event was played, that tree has been cleaned up considerably, but the remnants are still there, and it actually gives the hole a little bit of teeth. Andrew punches through. He's under it. Brandon here with about a 50-footer. That's a good effort. This is one of the bonus birdies, bonus par 3 holes. Only the big arms are really getting there. Bobby just sails it a little high, ramps it off the top just a touch, but he's still within 5 feet. Jeff cashes his putt. Everybody should be walking away with pars here. And even though this was the beginning of May, the weather was kind of raw, spring had definitely sprung in Connecticut, and the grass was lush and green, and conditions were pretty pleasant the second round. Now, Sherwood Island is one of the state parks of Connecticut, and it's the first disc golf course on a state park in Connecticut. Doesn't get as much use during the summer due to other park users, but this time of year was actually pretty wide open, and we had the place to ourselves due to the weather. So here's hole 9, uphill par 3. Plays as a left to right, or you could play over the top of that tree on a hyzer. It's one of the other really bonus par 3s. You got to keep a shot flat and penetrating up the hill and then turning into the hill. Andrew demonstrates that very well. And he's still about 50 feet short. Brandon shows the right shape of the shot, but he throws it low into the hillside. Jeff trying to throw an inside out, pops it up. That's pretty close. It's about 40 feet. He's going to have a chance. These approach shots are pretty routine. You're throwing uphill, even though Bob's got a side hill. He lays it there with the gator. Andrew chips his up, gives it a chance. Jeff with a really good effort there up the hill. Definitely one of the holes that you don't want to take a 4 on. You're going to lose a stroke here, but getting the 2 is definitely a bonus. Everybody tapping in here for par. You can see Jeff wiping off his disc, and the conditions are still pretty wet. So after the front 9, you've got Bobby, Andrew, and Jeff all 5 under through the round. Brandon 3 under. Bobby's 18 under for the day with a 5-stroke lead over Andrew. Hole 10, 329 feet, OB to the right and long. It's pretty flat, but it's only about 80 feet wide. So it plays pretty narrow. And those posts that you see sticking out of the ground, we play those as out of bounds to the left as well. So the hole has some teeth, even though it's pretty short. And there you see Andrew get caught up, and he's out of bounds way back near the tee. Brandon taking the low direct shot, but the grass is wet and pretty sticky right now, so he's not getting a skip. Jeff's throwing a flip-up destroyer. Doesn't get it flat, but he keeps it moving. Skips right by the basket, and he's got a nice putt, about 20 feet. So here's Andrew's 3rd shot after going out of bounds. He saws that off, and that is not a good effort. He's going to have a very difficult putt. Bishaw lays his effort up. And here's Bobby's putt for 2. And he cans it. It's not the hardest hole on the course, but getting hole 10 definitely sets the tone for the back 9. But Andrew does can his bogey putt. So he's only losing 1 stroke here to Brandon, but unfortunately he's losing 2 to Bobby. It's a good par. So now Bob's got a 7-stroke lead over the other 3 guys. Not in any real danger as of yet. Hole 11, 301 feet, slightly downhill, very low ceiling. If the wind is kicking, you're going to want to throw something stable. Looks like that's what Bobby's doing, throwing a glow rock. He's out wide, but wide open. Jeff also throwing a mid-range. Gets a little flat, and he's penetrating straight. Yeah, he's going to be about 50 feet. He's putting, but that not really as close as I think he'd want. And Brandon, unfortunately, hits the first tree. And that's the kind of tendency where you take something stable and you try to turn it instead of flipping up something slightly understable like Andrew's doing. Let's see if Brandon can get up and down here. Throws a decent shot. He's going to still be outside the circle. Bobby chipping up. Here's Jeff's putt for 2. See if he can keep the hot start going. No, a little low. Maybe there's some wind that we can't really tell. Andrew sails his. Maybe there was some tailwind there. Must have dropped Jeff and sailed Andrew. Brandon's putt just slides right off, and that is unfortunately going to be a bogey. rest of the guys tapping in here. So, threes for Bobby, Andrew, and Jeff. A bogey for Brandon. He's kind of sliding off the pace a little bit. As we move to hole 12, this is the toughest two of all the par 3s on the course. 393 plays a lot longer, and it's kind of an optical illusion. It forces you to play out a lot wider than you think you have to. Looks like Bobby's going with a PD2 up the middle. That's the aggressive play with a low ceiling, but he's got strokes to play with. It's a lot shorter that way, but there's trees and the branches to contend with. Looks like Jeff's throwing a wraith, and he's taking that line also. And he pures it. And he's still going to be quite a ways short of the basket. Andrew looks like he's setting up for the big left to right Anheuser. Possibly a roller. That's a safe play. Here's Brandon. Looks like he's getting the roller down also. Getting a little action to the right. And Bobby throwing a sidearm approach. Andrew saws off another approach. He's been doing that a couple times this round on the backhand hyzer. And Brandon jump putts his way to the basket. Bobby step putting just over the top. That's going to be his first bogey of the round, maybe of the day. But he's got a pretty sizable lead, and there's Jeff canning a big 2. That's pretty rare. Maybe there would have been one other that day. Andrew missing. That might have been his putt for 2 as well. Bobby in. Brandon in. Oh, that was a putt, missed putt for par for Andrew. So 2 bogeys, 1 birdie, 1 par. It's about how this hole typically plays. Hole 13, shortest hole in the course, only 199 feet. Subtly uphill. Want to play to the left or to the right of the tree in the middle. Have it work back to the basket. Jeff's off to the right. He's just inside the circle. He'll have a pretty unobstructed putt. Brandon's showing you how the line is typically thrown. Little putter, left to right. Bobby with the Nova. Doesn't really commit to it. Kind of lets it leak out of his hand and falls off the left. The other play is to take a Gator or a Firebird out to the right. But Andrew's going right at it. He's on the green. Looks like Bobby has to putt around that tree. Down on one knee. Puts it up. And he cans it. Bobby's known for his arm. One of the longest throwers in all of New England, but he's also an excellent putter. Jeff, also a superb putter. There's Brandon tapping in for his birdie. Just Andrew left. We've got a star frame. That's an excellent hole, and if you're not taking the 2 there in the MPO field, you're definitely losing a stroke. Hole 14, par 3, 367 feet. Plays uphill, good ways. Jeff pops his up in the air, and it falls out to the left. The shot shape is more of a flip up, right hand, backhand hyzer. Brandon's showing a little bit more to the flat, but his disc is still dropping out to the left. Here's Bobby throwing a PD2. He doesn't really get that one tipped over either. All these guys are leaking out to the left. It's a pretty open approach from over there, but you're not on the green. Andrew kind of shows the shape, but not high enough, not enough air to get it right onto the basket, but he's still putting. Good approach there. Bobby chips up. Looks like Brandon actually has a circle's edge putt. But leaves it low. He's not happy. Andrew also leaves his putt low. You're still putting uphill there, so and the ceiling is a little lower than you think it is. It's a good, fair par 3. So we're coming up to hole 15. That's going to be our last par 3. Holes 16, 17, and 18 are all par 4s. So this is the real last chance for these guys to get a 2 on the course. 347 feet. Plays left to right for these guys. Jeff flirting with that tree. And he's going to end up left. And he penetrates a little bit. He's got another putt. Here's Brandon. Doesn't really get that disc to move to the right at all. And even though that's unobstructed, that's not really where you want to be. Bobby's throwing a mid-range. Most of the other guys will be throwing either a fairway or a distance driver. He's showing off his arm here. He gets that rock to move to the right, and he's on the green. That's really the shape that you're trying to get. More left to right, and then have it drop out hyzer. Let's see what Andrew lines up here. And he lets that slip out, I think. Ends up way left. That road over there is out of bounds, but it shouldn't really come into play at all. That's a good approach. Brandon lays it up. Not too much he could do from over there. And Jeff cans another birdie. He's having a very good round. In the first round, he shot a 53. And he's on a good pace for this round. Bobby cans his putt and brought the scores up, and he shot a 46 first round. Can't recall if that's the course record or not, but it's got to be pretty close. As I said, it's par 59, and he did shoot 13 under. So now he's at 20 under for the day, 5 strokes on Jeff, and 8 on both Andrew and Brandon. So hole 16, it's par 4. You want to throw from the right to the left around the tree. Jeff with the box. Gets it over, cut down logs, working back to the left. And that's in a really good spot. He's going to have a fairly straightforward 250-foot approach. Bobby crushing a PD2. He lets that leak out left early, but it gets around the tree. Probably not as far as he wanted, but it's still going to be wide open. Brandon playing for position. Kind of gets a little bad kick, but he's got enough distance to get around the tree. Here's Andrew. Good pump. Disc moving to the left. And all 4 of these guys are in pretty decent position. Andrew possibly obstructed behind the telephone pole. So from where they are, plays pretty downhill. The basket is about 30 feet from a paved road that plays as OB. Andrew's approach, and he's out of bounds. A little hot there. You want to throw a mid-range, nose up, slightly ante. Or in the case of Bob, you can play the forehand with your opposite hand into the green. That's Brandon laying up. There's Jeff. Hole 16 is a legit par 4. You got to play for position on both your drive and your approach. And that's a good putt from Andrew that just doesn't stick. A little high and right, perhaps, but good effort. Good tap in from Jeff. You're not feeling too bad with a 4 here. The 3 is definitely doable. Bobby taps in for his birdie. And Andrew with the unfortunate bogey. Jeff with a great 10 under round going so far. And if you get a lot of those par 3s, you can score at Sherwood. Hole 17, par 4, 470. Feels like you should be able to drive the basket with a big shot out to the left. But Jeff's playing down the right-hand side. That's a safe play too. Bobby going with the cut roller. That's one way to access the green. Goes up the hill and then drops all the way back down. Brandon with a similar shot to Jeff. We'll see where they end up. Andrew throwing the cut roller too. It looks like he gets hung up. There's his approach. That's a solid shot. Kept it down out of the wind this time. Bobby throwing his putter approach. Not really what he's looking for there. Probably a little further away than he wants to be. Jeff with a little forehand dumper. He's under the basket. This looks like it's probably about 25, 28 feet. Brandon with his putt. And Andrew tapping in. So all three guys get the birdie 3. Hole 17 is not that difficult of a hole. It's a kind of a soft par 4. So the last hole, hole 18, par 4, 705 feet. The longest hole in the course and by far the toughest. First part of the hole plays extremely uphill. Well, not extremely, but good ways, and you want to pump it out there to the open. And Jeff gets over the one real obstacle that you can't deal with. Bobby pumping a destroyer. Looks like he gets a pretty good flight on that. And he's up to the flat part of the hole. And he's going to be looking at the basket. That's in a good spot. Brandon playing for position. Ends up to the left. He's going to be throwing directly at it. Andrew playing a little more left to right. Maybe not quite as far as he wanted, but he's going to have a hyzer shot. Here's Jeff pumping a low screamer. Just hits one of the posts. Otherwise, that might have been near the basket. Andrew gets his shot turned over. And he's going to be approaching for his par. Brandon gets up there. He's on the green putting for 3. Looks like Bobby's throwing him his mid-range. Just pulling to the left on him. There's Andrew laying it up. Here's Jeff's putt for birdie. And that is the worst attempt of the round for him. Looks like Bobby's shot stuck on the green. He's got a putt for birdie. He cans it. He's happy with that 3. That's the win right there. So Bobby goes 46-49 on the day for a total of 95. Andrew taps in for par. Brandon tapping in for par. sorry, for birdie. And Jeff. So Jeff went 53-48, beat Bobby by 1 stroke on that round. Shot 101, finished second. And coming up from the second card, we had Andrew Tabasinski with the 51, so he finished in a tie for third with Brandon at 104. And then we had Marvin at 106 and Andrew also at 106, rounding out our top finishers. So that was the 2018 Sherwood Island Open. This is Craig Smolin signing off.
Difference is clear, that tip of the tongue type who's never lost for insight. For suckers who invite the will of others in, I fail to see what you're encompassing as a whole. And sometimes the quickest road is not the easiest approach. Say your votes for these jokes who never wrote but got talent. Rather be the guy.
You serious?